thank you so much for the invitation, and it is just splendid to see so many people here on a Wednesday night in Brighton and Hove, so thank you so much for coming out. And I am absolutely delighted to be able to wholeheartedly welcome this pledge, and also to pay tribute to the fantastic work that's being done by Sussex Defend the NHS and Keep Our NHS Public, and many of the other campaigns associated with those. I think they're doing fantastic work in the city. So as the local MP for Brighton Pavilion, I've been working with those defending the NHS locally, and I've also been doing all I can to stand up for the NHS in Parliament, voting against the breaking up by the coalition. And that's because, like you, I believe that the NHS is hugely precious, a hugely important public service. It's ranked best in the world. We're proud in this country that if you're poor, you don't have to think twice about whether or not you can afford to go to the doctor or whether or not you can go to hospital. And I think when you look at the US, just across the waves there, you look at the US and you see what the situation is there, where with the private system of insurance, actually what happens is that lots of people can't afford the insurance. And in the US, there are over 7 million children who are not insured and have no real support for their health service. And it's because we want to avoid a prospect like that I am very proud to be able to say very strongly yes to scrapping the Health and Social Care Act and reinstating the NHS. Yes to a publicly funded and provided universal national health service forever free at the point of delivery. And no to privatisation, commercialisation, PFI and the trampling of our democracy by corporations. And the NHS we're here today to defend is what it is because of the amazing, dedicated work being done by nurses, doctors, midwives and healthcare assistants throughout the NHS. And that's in spite of the constant reorganisations and the cuts. And so I stand in solidarity with the reluctant but brave decision, I think, of NHS workers to strike for 4 hours on the 13th of October. I share the outrage of NHS workers over the shocking refusal of Jeremy Hunt to give even a derisory 1% pay rise. Yeah. Now, I don't know what the point is of an independent pay review if you have an independent pay review and it advises you to increase pay and then you just simply ignore it. NHS staff do a fantastic job, but they are in hugely difficult circumstances and they should be paid properly, not insulted by the Secretary of State. But as well as opposing the unfair and counterproductive pay freeze, we must oppose the dismantling and asset stripping of our precious NHS by this government. And we haven't forgotten, and we won't forget, Section 75 or Lewisham or Clause 118. I stood up to formally oppose the regulations that have opened up the NHS to competitive law. And I've worked with others to push for the debate to try to stop the stealthy Section 75. In the end, despite near universal professional opposition and strong political pressure, these dangerous privatising regulations were actually approved in the House of Lords. And I think it's deeply disappointing that Baroness Shirley Williams, on so many other issues I have great admiration for her, but on this, she basically led the Liberal Democrats to follow the coalition and a 3-line whip, and that's why it went through, and that is completely wrong. And after that, the cross-party fight against the coalition's relentless assault on the NHS has continued. I fought again on a cross-party basis with our other MPs, with a motion in Parliament to try to stop the outrageous 118 hospital closure clause. That was when the government was trying to stop local communities having the right to stand up for their local hospital provision. Not only that, but they were trying to do it retrospectively as well. Sadly, and again, as with Section 75, relying on Liberal Democrat support, Jeremy Hunt changed the rules after losing so spectacularly in his attempt to close Lewisham A&E and maternity services. But we are not going to stop fighting, and I think that's what tonight is about. We can save the NHS, and it's not too late. Work is going on in Parliament to try and put things right, and as the pledge makes plain, it's essential that we roll back the damage caused by successive governments to our healthcare service and the dedicated staff that keep it running. And so I pledge to continue to defend the NHS and to campaign for the Royal Sussex and other healthcare services in Brighton to stay out of private hands. The profit motive has no place in the provision of essential health services. NHS has been commercialised and privatised by stealth over the last 25 years. And that's why, as well as backing the bill by Labour's Clive effort to repeal the worst aspects of the Coalition's appalling assault on the NHS, I'm also supportive of a bill that goes much further, a new NHS reinstatement bill. Leading public health experts have launched a consultation on this new bill which aims to reverse completely the failings of the Health and Social Care Act 2012 and fully restore the NHS in England as an accountable public service, and I'm absolutely championing that in Parliament. This exciting new bill proposes to abolish competition and the purchaser-provider split, to re-establish public bodies and public accountability and restrict the role of commercial companies. The NHS reinstatement bill has been drafted by barrister Peter Roderick with the assistance of Alison Pollock, both based at Queen Mary University of London, both absolute experts. I really do recommend that you have a look at it. It's on the Open Democracy website. I want to end just by a few words about democracy, because many of you here will also be familiar with the so-called insidious TTIP, short for the Transatlantic Trade and Investment Partnership. This is a wicked thing that is being got through underneath the radar. Very few people are aware of it. But we know that if this trade agreement goes ahead between the EU and the US, and that was one of the things Cameron was doing when he was off at New York, when he wasn't making nice statements about climate change, he was actually trying to get this agreement sorted. And if that goes ahead, essentially what that will mean is that it'll be that much harder to ever reverse the privatisation of the NHS. So as well as campaigning against... I've got to finish, but just as well as campaigning against the Health and Social Care Act, we have to campaign against TTIP as well and stand up for democracy right across the board.